Welcome back to Gankers Podcast, a show about gaming and ganking. We're not experts, but a few of us think they are. No shame in that, but thank you for joining us for our second episode. Today, we want to focus on a little bit about TBC, getting prepared. I'm totally non-knowledgeable in that because WoW is Classic is my first experience, but some of us know more than others, which is great. And after that, we are going to jump into another segment about classes that we want to see in WoW, whether it be in Classic, TBC, just kind of envisioning some kind of cool things we decided to talk about. So let's get started. Around the room, quick guys, let's say, typical, who's here? Let's all give a little shout out.
Hi guys, this is Viewing. I just want to point out that I also have no knowledge of TBC. I played up to level 66 as I believe as a Holy Paladin back in 2006. So,
well, I'm Brath. I have a little bit more experience, I guess, with the whole TBC thing. I did go all the way through from beginning to end of Sunwell, and then on into Wrath. And I can't stress how excited I am about this. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, Plantera here. I've played a bit of TBC, nothing endgame though. Just leveling a few people through on the way to Wrath and Beyond.
Hey, it's Darth here. I haven't played much TBC, a little bit PvP. That's about it. Didn't do much raiding, so I'm kind of excited to hear a little bit about this and figure it all out.
Yeah. Sweet. Well, welcome back, everybody. It's episode 2, so everybody's still getting to know us. So introductions are still appropriate at this point. But so we've been in Classic for like a year, and I know for me, I this is like my first thing, so I have a pretty good knowledge about like what Classic's all about and whatnot. But and there may be some more people listening like me. So what's the I guess the biggest thing that's going to happen with the patch coming out in a few months? It was the biggest first change.
So I guess the biggest first change that's going to come out is obviously it's going to be the introduction of classes.
You get XP
shaman
again.
For I didn't hear what
you'll get XP. You'll get experience,
baby.
Again.
Oh yeah. The biggest thing is you can get some XP. No, but so the shaman class coming out for the alliance, and then of course the paladins getting or the horde getting the paladins is going to be the first big change that we're going to see. Also with the introduction of the 2 new zones, the starting areas for of course the Draenei, and then of course for the blood elves as well. So those 2 things coming out is going to be big. We're probably going to see an influx of those zones being very popular, especially for the pre-patch, and then probably for some time, at least probably for a month into the Burning Crusade. We're going to see those zones like flooded with either new people trying to play or older players getting in those shamans, which are going to be very much needed for the upcoming raids. So a lot of that to look forward to, especially with us getting the whole heroism bloodlust thing coming out too.
Yeah, I can't wait to go gank some horde paladins. It's gonna be great.
Well, I mean, it's gonna be kind of like what I mean. I wasn't really here for, I guess, what phase did I join in? If I joined in December
2, I think, buddy.
I think
you're right in 2. You're right in the heartbeat of Classic, man. Holy God.
So yeah, we're going to see probably some world PvP again, seriously, right? For all the leveling shamans and paladins.
So obviously, and including even whenever we first step into Outland, right? So when players are first going to be stepping into Outland, they can step in there, I think, as early as like 56 or something. I'm not exactly sure. It's either 56 or 58, maybe even early as 55.
Yeah, I think it's 58.
I thought it was 58.
But
I think that
okay,
maybe.
It may change later in retail,
exactly.
I think. But so you have to be level 58. So even level 58s are going to be able to feel the sting of the world PvP if you're on a PvP server, of course. So, even right out the gate, the Horde and the Alliance cities are literally right across from each other. Many of the very first quests takes you into enemy lines. So to say that you won't see any Horde or you won't see any Alliance you're going to be gravely mistaken. And a lot of these same quests are going to be fought over some of the same mobs. So, and it's going to come down to who's got the bigger groups sometime. And there's also, just like we've seen with the later stages of a Classic with the Eastern Plague Lands getting the tower objectives. So that's going to be carried over into the very first the very first land, Hellfire Peninsula, that we come across in the Burning Crusade, and that's that they're going to have the same capturable points like that for PvP, which will also give you a buff while in the dungeons and while questing in the zone as well. So that's going to be an objective that's going to be fought over, because as it does bring it into the dungeon, that I believe, maybe it does, I can't remember exactly, but it may transfer over to Magtheridon's Lair, which is also at the bottom of the Hellfire Citadel. It's one of the raids. It's a pretty simple, straightforward raid, but we'll get into that much later. So
layering is going to be a big factor on how our experience is coming in through the portal, if they're going to do that or not. Because if there's no layering, it's going to be an absolute ton of people trying to squeeze into one pretty small zone.
Yeah, I have a feeling that initially they're going to I think initially they're going to have layering. That's the only thing that makes sense to me, especially just trying to get into the Outlands to begin with. I would assume like that first quest when you get to like the Dark Portal, I would assume there's going to be some form of layering.
I'm guessing so. I think that was one of the suggestions they mentioned in the hashtag some changes.
Oh, if there's not, it's going to be an absolute. It's going to suck.
It's going to be a shit show, man.
Yeah, it's going to be insane.
But I'll tell you one thing, man. I want to be part of that. I want to see that, experience it. It'd be insane.
Yeah, I've always seen screenshots. Yeah, I mean, I love Classic and whatnot, but like I only saw screenshots of what Classic was like launching, and also like videos on YouTube and whatnot. Like people fucking lining up for quests. Like, so we were playing hardcore recently, and on another server, by the way, super fun. I had way more fun than I was expecting.
It was
yeah, and it's awesome. But like we went to that one quest, and we all had to like take turns picking up the item. I couldn't imagine like having a whole brand new launch day with like hundreds of people trying to do this one quest.
Hundreds.
There's literally like screenshots,
my friend.
Like screenshots of people like lined up outside the cave, like all these orcs just like waiting to grab the little pickaxe.
Well, we play on a PvP server. I'm assuming it's going to be way worse for us than it would be on a PvE server.
Yeah.
Just because there's going to be a lot of, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of Horde attacking Alliance and vice versa. Probably a little bit of griefing going on, I would assume.
You better believe it. Of course, man. There's going to be people just out there specifically to do that, man.
And I'm going to complain the whole time.
One of the, obviously there's only like what they would recommend, like a couple ways to level come in TBC. And one of that, and I think the best way, honestly, especially, if you're trying to get it done as quickly as possible, is to do a dungeon group, where you just, you get the 5 people together that, can be on the most, and you go through each and every one of the dungeons, and you just dungeon grind all the way through. You are earning rep and you are earning gold. You're doing some of the dungeon quests as well. Obviously, some of them you have to do a little bit of a chain before you get in there.
Right.
But there are some that are available either right outside of the dungeon or inside of the dungeon as well. So, I mean, you can get some of those done. You do earn rep going through as well. I mean, obviously, if you were doing the quest, then did, the quest in the zone and then the dungeons, it would be more beneficial as far as rep went. But in the interest of, if you're trying to do it quickly, then, you're not so much worried about it because you can always go back and rep grind later. And everybody knows that once you're level 70, killing some of these things in the lower level zones is obviously so much easier and so much quicker for you. So, and then, I mean, it just depends on what your goal is. If your goal is to be 70 quickly, then that's the route you want to take. If it's not, if you want to, enjoy the scenery, look at some of the new zones. My personal favorite is Nagrand. It's a big, vast, open zone. It's where Hemet Nesawari makes his return.
All the elementals are in there, right?
Mm-hmm. All the elementals, the Throne of Elements is out there.
Yep.
So it's also got another PvP zone right in the middle of it. It's a constant PvP zone.
That sounds like fun.
So there's it's a great place, and it's the mid to upper level 60s zone. So about 65 to 68 is that zone's level, and it's great. So and every zone is going to have a little bit of some kind of PvP aspect to it. Not necessarily always like a dedicated zone, but 3 of the 5 new zones, or 6. Wait, 1, 2. maybe it's 4 out of 6. So 4 out of 6 new zones are all going to have some kind of PvP objective built into the map. Blades Edge Mountains has one, Nagrand has one, or Nagrand, however you say it, has one. Hellfire Peninsula has one, and then Terracar Forest has one as well. So all of the, 4 out of the 6 zones that are coming up are going to have a PvP objective put in it. So, I mean, if you're one of the PvP enthusiasts, TBC is definitely where it picks up big time. And then the also with the introduction of the arenas, which I find was an amazing addition at the time until, well, in my opinion, until some people kind of rigged it and made it kind of bad. But but it was a great concept. You know what I'm saying? It's a great concept, and if they can find a way to kind of regulate the people kind of cheesing their way to the top, I think it would be even a better installation to the game than it is now.
So like I said, I quit at level 66. So I only got to like the first couple areas. So obviously with vanilla or classic, currently we have the whole entirety of the Eastern Kingdom and Kalimdor. What's it going to look like PvP wise, like world PvP wise, knowing that Outlands is much smaller? Is that going to become an issue?
It's all contested. Like everywhere you go, if you're in a PvP server, it don't matter where you are. Pretty much, you can get ganked or whatever, right? So,
like once we hit the Outlands, do we ever come back to Kalimdor, Eastern Kingdom? Do we come back to the main area, or are we basically in Outlands?
Yeah, no. So with TBC, also, like I said, it introduces Draenei and their starting zone, and then their subsequent like next zone or whatever. So they start on the Azure Mist Isles, and then they go to the Blood Isles or something like that. I'm fuzzy on the
something
names.
Like that,
but it's something like that. So they start there, and then their second little zone is just like another like hop, skip, and a jump for them, right? So the same thing happens on the Horde side, where they have the capital city or whatever, and they're the little surrounding Silvermoon City. Sorry, for the Blood Elves, and then the surrounding land of the Ghostlands. Well, inside of the Ghostlands, there is another raid called Zul Aman that comes out during TBC. And that is the next troll raid that basically is like this. It's the ZG of Classic, you know what I'm saying? So it's going to have several different bosses that are, the tribe's gods. And then at the end, you have to fight yet another priest and, another, war chief. Troll war chief. So, and it's a great little one, and it has a lot of has a lot of little cool little looking gear in there. Especially if you're interested in a lot of the cosmetics. Some of it's actually pretty good, depending on where you're at the time. As far as raid progression, and then also you can get the the heavily heavily sought after ZG Bear mount if you can do the run fast enough and save the prisoners before execution. So, and that's that's one that I actually did, and I think you get a certain amount of time, and if you can kill the bosses, and it extends your time. So, but obviously you have to be able to get to them fast enough, kill them with enough time to extend your time to get to the next boss, kill the next boss to extend your time, so on and so forth. And you have to do that for 4 of the bosses. Let's see, Eagle, Bear, Dragon, Hawk, and Lynx. Yeah, so 4 of the bosses you have to clear in order to get that within the time frame, and it's a challenge.
No, you got to do it.
Caverns of Time come out around that? Is that's
Wrath?
That's Wrath. Okay.
Yeah, they're calling us Wrathhome and all that stuff. Yeah, I believe so. But here's a question though: who's going for the Netherwind Drake?
Oh, I'm sure everybody is.
Who's doing
not
it?
Me.
I'm going for it, man. I never did before in TBC because I didn't really care about that kind of stuff. It's just not the way I played the game. But going through Classic and whatnot, now I'm just like, I gotta do it, man. When I was in TBC and seeing everyone on those Netherwind Drakes, it's like, damn, I want that, but just too much time and dedication.
A Netherwind Drake, just like a Fire Maul looking mount.
It's I don't know how to explain it really. Like,
no clue.
Well, they look like, okay. So whenever we get into their
You'll see them flying
TBC.
around.
You'll see what Nether Drakes look like, especially if they fly around in like Shadow Moon Valley and stuff like this.
Right.
It's basically a neon, slick-looking drake, either an onyx color, black color, turquoise color, and they're highly sought after because you have to get all the way to Exalted with the Netherwind in order to get these mounts, and the way to do that is to find Netherwind eggs and turn them in.
Yep.
Now, naturally, anybody can pick these eggs, and you have to be able to whatever, they're on a timer. Excuse me. So they're on a timer to be picked, and obviously that makes them, a source of ganks and PvP. So it can get real bad sometimes. A lot of people, especially early on, they're going to want to, everybody wants to be the first person to get one, so. Right. There's going to be a lot of competition, which means usually a lot of ganking. So
so like 20K well spent kind of stuff. Got it.
Yeah, horde collusion.
I mean, if you can pay for that kind of protection for that long, like this is not like you can get this done in a day. Like this is going to take you some time.
No, this is dedication.
So
so it's not the Scarab Lord, is what you're saying.
Months of work. At least back then, it was months of work. Now, I mean,
it was.
We know how to organize better nowadays and stuff like that. We know what we're looking for. We know where to find it now, more so than we did back then. So I don't imagine like some of the speed people that like to get together and just do it all, as fast as possible. Yeah, it may only take them, month at best. Yeah. But for everybody else, expect it to take you a couple months, especially if you're by yourself trying to solo it. Don't expect to get an egg every day, especially in the beginning, because more than likely, if you're solo, you're just extra bait. You're just a free kill,
It's definitely something I want to take my time on and eventually do it. It's not something I'm obviously going to be fully dedicated to, because there's just so much that TBC brings that I want to do as well. So it's kind of just like a side project for me, for sure.
Yeah, to answer your question, there's no way that I'm going to be doing that grind.
We'll see.
It sounds just as bad as the AV grind, and that's not even a bad grind, and I didn't do that either.
No, it's not like that.
I'm just going to shapeshift into a bird.
Oh, yeah, plant's done. He's good to
go.
Yeah. So today I was like paying attention half the time, and like trade chat, people are already trying to like sell items. So like today, somebody was trying to sell like a fire cloak or whatever, an AoE fire damage cloak in trade chat for paladin boosting for TBC. It's going to be
that's the one we got, wasn't it?
No, it's the one that drops off the world boss one.
Okay.
It just has like AoE damage. But that's besides the point. So people are already trying to push items for TBC, it looks like, and also our market looks like it's changing. Like things are getting cheaper because bots are dumping their inventory because it's like going to be over soon. So like along with like, I know mages get nerfed, and we can explain that briefly. Yeah. Somebody can take that.
Rip Blizzard on being able to hit more than 10 mobs, as far as I know.
I want to know, is Blizzard going to be nerfed come the pre-patch, or only after TBC is fully out? Because that's going to be a huge factor on what I do with Shaman.
Yeah, I'm unsure on that.
We don't know. I mean, a lot of people are going to be wanting boosting, so they might be like, oh, well, people are boosting like crazy right now. We're dropping their pre-patch. Everyone's going to want to level Shamans on the Alliance side and Paladins on the other side, right? So, I mean, they might just go ahead and say, we're gonna just screw mages right now, so you guys have to actually go out and quest.
Yeah.
So what I got from that announcement is that the pre-patch, you won't have access to the Outlands is what it's called.
Yes.
Outlands.
You won't have access to the Outlands, and you won't be able to get past level 60. You'll just be able to have access to Shamans and vice versa for the Horde for Paladins. So you can start leveling that character. So I'm assuming that they'll stop at 60 if you start leveling them.
Yes,
which means
definitely.
Which means mages won't have their new talent tree, which means Blizzard shouldn't be nerfed.
I agree. But
that's a good theory. I agree with that. Hopefully.
We just don't know.
Yeah. But I will say that as a prop paladin, I will be a very good booster in TBC.
We know.
Is Consecrate affected?
Consecrate scales with spell power.
They don't. I don't think they fuck with consecration. I think they don't screw with that one like they did Blizzard.
it's not just Blizzard though. There's a whole swath of AoE that they nerf to have a limited amount of targets they can hit, but
Really?
some are unaffected. I think Flame Strike still hits unlimited.
Yeah,
but it's case by case.
Well, I mean, let's see. Hashtag
I can tell you, just please don't nerf Blizzard. Please do not nerf Blizzard until the pre-patch is done.
It's gonna happen, man. I'm sorry. I feel like it's gonna happen.
As long as that's the case, I can get a shaman leveled in like a week or two. Like, I'm not too worried. I'm not going for world first or anything crazy like that. But I would like to get my shaman to 60 before mage. Before mages get nerfed.
Well, so like I said, Flame Strike is unaffected, so you still could do Cone of Cold farm kiting with Flame Strike.
Oh, the Shatter Flame Strike Cone of Cold kite? Yeah.
Yeah, that should
that's
still
a good
work,
way to do it.
even if AoE is nerfed.
Yeah, it's actually the way I used to do it. Still a very nice way to farm.
You'd have to teach me how to do that.
Yeah, it would change what farms you can and can't do, right?
It's nice. I still prefer the Blizzard AoE farm, but
well, also,
depending on what you're doing.
If they take out spell batching, then Cone of Cold kiting is going to be a lot easier.
Ooh, what do you mean though? Because like the thing is with the Shatter Flame Strike Cone of Cold, right? So what you do is you Frost Nova them into a Flame Strike Cone of Cold, and I'm pretty sure to be able to get that Cone of Cold off on them is spell batching. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I think so far what I've seen
right?
in PTR, early on when they did that first release on the PTR of the spell batching change, it seems to be that you do get some benefit, you do get some crits from that spell batching, but it's not doing 100% anymore. It's like something below 50%, I think.
It's gonna be such a weird thing, not like being able to spell batch anymore. Like,
but that might get tweaked up or down. It's hard to say where it's sitting at right now.
On top of that kind of stuff, the leeway mechanic, is that something that is gone in TBC as well? Am I correct?
I'm not sure they mentioned that. I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, back when I played TBC, I from what I remember that wasn't a thing. Like I wasn't able to Cone of Cold someone like a mile away from me. You know what I mean? By using that, abusing that mechanic.
I believe part of that is spell batching. I think they work hand in hand.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I know it's kind of crazy, to be able to jump or in strafe and just Cone of Cold someone like literally way further away than you're supposed to. So it'd be
right. So
it'd be
I think it's like
see what sets if they're gonna.
I believe it's a combination of it's on the high exactly. Right? Think about it. I believe it's a combination of the leeway and the spell batching that gets you. It's where your character hitbox is slightly wider because of leeway, and then it's hitting where you were, up to 400 milliseconds ago because of spell batching.
Right.
I think.
Yeah.
So what I'm reading here, number one, Consecrate is not affected. It hits all targets. Doesn't matter. Sweet. But what I am reading about Blizzard, it's not that it's limited to 10 targets. It's limited to an amount of damage.
Right. Sorry, that's right.
So you can have, let's say, this is just an example, but Blizzard can tick for 1,000 damage per tick up to 10 targets. If you add in 20 targets, it's going to half the damage on each target. See what I'm saying?
But you're still able to
attack them all.
Attack them all, slow them all kind of thing.
Yes.
But it's just like you're losing a lot of damage. And I mean that's the big thing about it, to be able to do that much damage to every single mob. Well, if you pull 100 or 200 mobs, right, you're all hitting them for the same amount of damage.
So you could adjust. You could adjust your approach. And I've heard some mages talking about it, like Arleus, I believe, that you could just rapidly pull instead of doing one big pull, and just pull groups of 20 or whatever down that.
Yeah, I mean, it's still going to work, but it's not going to be the most efficient way like we can in Classic right now, doing the merit pulls, ZG pulls,
of course,
ZF pulls. You know what I mean?
That's why
it's going to be a lot more time consuming, but still possible. From what you're saying, right?
It is my turn to boost. Get out of here, Shao.
Darth. I mean, if we're talking about anyone's boosting, viewing someone to talk about or parsing, whatever.
But one thing I wanted to touch on about the prep for TBC too is that with all the with all the changes that we're talking about, spell batching and all this other stuff that's coming up, one of the things that's coming up too is all the changes to our professions. Obviously, the skill cap increases. and we have to 37 or is it 375?
I think so, right?
I think it's 375.
I thought that's what's like ringing a bell for me.
350, 375, something like that.
I think so, yeah.
So either way, but you're going to want to have, like, especially for leather working, obviously if you're going to be a skinner and leather worker, which a lot of people, one thing I want to touch on about leather workers is that almost all of the DPS are going to want to have some kind of drum, but they are making changes to them. What changes, I still don't know yet, and I don't know how it's going to affect the priority of the drums, but as we know it right now, the leather working drums are still going to be very useful regardless of the changes that are going to come down the line. Just how useful or how much they're going to be diminished, I don't know yet. But that's one of the things we're just kind of sitting back and waiting to see what Blizzard's going to tell us about that. But like for alchemy gets a big change too, because once you hit level 68, you're going to be able to do what they call mastery quests for them. So you have to choose. You can either be like a potions master, elixirs master, or a transmutation master. And what that does is whenever you're crafting said potions or elixirs or whatever you have your specialization in, you will be able to proc extra potions, extra elixirs as you're making them. Okay. So yeah,
that's big, so man. That's huge.
One of the other changes to that too is something called discovery. So like whenever you're making your potions, you're going to have a chance to learn new recipes. Some of the recipes are only found through discovery. Okay, that's the same thing with like some of the blacksmithing. That's changed. Blacksmithing is coming up. Is called discovery. As you're crafting pieces, you will discover new recipes. Same thing, like I was saying for alchemy. Cauldrons become a big thing. So what a cauldron is it's a recipe that's only learned through discovery, but it can be a cauldron of any of the major protection types, right? So what this does is it produces 25 greater protection potions of that kind for the entire raid. So we drop basically a cauldron, everybody clicks on it, and they get a major protection potion out of it. Wow. That can be of fire, of nature protection, of whatever, ice, whatever, So it's just like that's something that you can only get by crafting potions over and over again, crafting elixirs over and over again, So what TBC kind of does with professions is it makes you want to go out and get your materials far more materials so you can craft, so you can find these hard to get recipes, these super beneficial recipes like cauldrons and stuff like that for that. And also one of the biggest things is like one of the pains in the butt about alchemy right now is that, well, you need a leaded vial for this, an empty vial for this, Susan B. Anthony's freaking glass vial to make this potion. Well, in TBC, you just need one vial. It's a crystal vial to make any and every potion. So, and elixir, so on. So it kind of gets rid of the carrying around and excess, taking up a bag space, especially if you tend to carry a few around like I do. So those are some of the major changes coming to the alchemy class or profession anyways. But
and then we got, we got cooking too, right? The feasts, that's a big one. So
so there's going to be
have their fishing and cooking up, it's going to be a big one.
Fishing and cooking are kind of going to go hand in hand even more so than they did in Classic. Because in Classic, you could kind of level up your cooking by some of the fishing stuff, but then really you didn't really use a lot of it until, like, you didn't use a lot of the fish actually until the very end, where you could get like night fin and all those kind of things out of it. So, but now with TBC, you're going to need a little bit of each of the fish in the different zones to make these feasts, right? So that it kind of puts like kind of makes it all the fish worthwhile. Some still more than others, because you can still make certain other foods that aren't feast related by, just like some of the other fish or some of the other meat. So they still have, like a hierarchy, so to say, of like which one is the best and so on and so forth. But all of them become useful. You know what I'm saying? So, and feast are going to be an edible that the entire raid can eat, and it's going to produce a stat based on their class. Okay. Or I think it's based on their class, or it may be that you can make one and it's just it does certain things. It's just like a set thing it does, but it's beneficial to both casters
I actually
and
don't
melee.
remember on that one. Right.
Yeah, I can't remember when they changed it, because I know nowadays in retail, I think if you put a certain feast down, I think it's called like a palatable feast, I think you can make, and it gives like just a certain stat based on your class. I don't know if it's like that TBC or if it's a certain. I think it's like certain stats that are set. But either way, so that comes into play too, and of course you have to have the fishing to get the skill to fish up the certain fish that you need to make these feasts, and also the cooking skill to make them. So it's and those feasts are really amazing, especially to bring the raids and everything like that. And just in case somebody has forgotten whatever, you can literally provide the protection potions, the and the food buffs, just based off of 2 people or even one person. I doubt one person would have both these professions.
Dude,
but
I know
I'm going to.
It's a big quality of life thing.
Just, you know what I'm saying though. It's just like, you will have everything at your disposal as long as you have a dedicated raid group, and they make it so that dedicated raid groups, I feel like they made a lot of these changes so that the dedicated raid groups can make real progress real quickly, instead of having to wait for, everyone to catch up. They can literally, the leads of the guild and officers and things like that can literally pump these things out. Their better players can pump these things out to get everybody caught up, and we just going as quick as possible.
Yeah, but small other little thing too that was brought to the mages, which is a beautiful thing, is the mage table. You don't have to cry to your vendor vending machine anymore. They just a little bit, but they can just like cast that table and everyone just
actually I prefer handmade.
It's great. And I think don't the priests get the healing well in that one as well? Or am I crazy?
They have it in Classic too, the light well.
Yeah, but now it's just buns.
This is light well? They have that in Classic?
Yeah.
Is that an actual thing? Just nobody gets it.
Just nobody gets
it at the point. I don't know why I didn't.
Raymond had
never see it. That's why.
I'll be honest with you, even in TBC, cool, I don't know. I never really I mained a priest through most of TBC. I started out warrior, but through the raids, I pretty much mained my priest. And I wanna say for the first, I want to say I played a holy priest all the way through in TBC the first time through. And I think I only ever spec'd in the light well once, and I think it was just to see how it would do. I think I went to it with into a Hyjal raid with it one time with my guild. And I don't know. I don't remember it being all that impressive, but I think I remember my raid lead thought it was fairly impressive. Maybe he knew more than I did at the time, because he ended up making a couple of us priests take it just so we could click it or whatever, so it would heal us over time. So
sorry to interrupt you. Is that something you can use in combat? Or you have to be out of combat?
No, I think we had to cast it out of combat.
Out of combat, yeah. But then like once you get into a fight or whatever, get in combat, you are still capable of going to that,
clicking it, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And clicking it, that can be.
I don't know. Maybe you could cast it
one
in
priest
combat.
on it. Be
I feel like you must be able to.
Kind of crazy, cool.
Yeah, I feel like you could have cast it in combat though.
It's worth, in my opinion, having one priest out of however many have. It's an interesting thought.
Well, I think we could probably go on about TBC in preparation for a long time. We have many more episodes to dedicate to that, but I do want to transition us into our next segment, which is a little more fun, a little less serious. But retail WoW has a lot of classes in it. Classic has so many classes in it, but I want to talk about or envision some classes that don't exist. What do we want to see, or what would be really cool to try out? Because there's all these other games we play with all these different things. What would be cool to bring into WoW that would bring good balance to, let's say, like Classic or retail in this instance? So just off the top of your head, if you've done a little research, great job. What would you like to see?
So I think what retail most lacks, actually, if you look at what they've come up with already, it's all like melees. So I think the most likely next thing to see out of retail is like a ranged or like a magic user, something like that.
Kind of like a it seemed for me, like I think like maybe like a I hate to quote like Final Fantasy right now, but like a red mage kind of thing. Like
What's a
imagine
red
being
mage?
able to have aspects of all schools, arcane,
Mm-hmm.
fire, frost, and healing spells. I think
Yeah.
that would be like a really neat thing,
Yeah, I think it kind of interested
just
in the idea of,
it'd be
wizard.
crazy cool. It'd be weird.
Like
I don't know how they work that in, but it'd be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, red mage. So you have like the mage. So the mage in classic is what frost and fire and arcane focused.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe like a red mage would just have a different type of magic. Maybe
Exactly.
like lightning, dude. That is something I think a mage lacks. Like they should have like a whole other, even like just keeping the mage and giving them like another element like lightning. That'd be pretty cool. But I mean, then you have the shaman, right? So you know what I mean.
So the something I was thinking about, since y'all were talking about that, like how the next one should probably be like a range or a mage of some type. I was kind of when we had told just we were doing this. So what I had thought about was something like that, a ranged like a caster who was focused on a different type of magic, and also with a little bit of crowd control put into them. So it would be something like a mentalist is what I was thinking. Somebody that uses psychic and void energy to damage and crowd control the enemy.
Yes.
Some of their attacks would be something like Void Blast, be similar to like the Shadow Priest's Mind Blast ability, where it does a tremendous amount of void damage up front with a chance to crit. Something like a void called Void Craze. It would be a dot similar to Corruption that also would have a stacking debuff that would apply to it that increased void damage taken for the duration as well, stacking up to 5 times. A Void Ray, something like a Mind Flay, except it would have obviously it wouldn't be shadow damage; it'd be void energy or void damage, and it would also apply or keep that debuff from the Void Craze applied while boosting the damage from the Void Ray. Then last would be something like a Void Zone. Similar like to whatever like almost seems like every boss does nowadays, but it would throw a zone.
Yep.
It would like focus a void energy zone similar to like Blizzard, same kind of cast time. It's a channeled spell that instead of like Blizzard falling from the sky, it would be like void energy erupting from a black hole in the earth. So that would be some of its damaging abilities. Then its crowd control would be like Mind Hold, like it silences the target for a certain amount of time. Nightmares is basically like a fear in place that also silences the target. And that's kind of about all I got through.
I mean,
for today.
Did you
very
write out
interesting though? I like that.
Their talent trees too. Holy shit, man!
Yeah, no, I like it. I like the
I mean, I would have. I just didn't have. I didn't, really have enough time to really prep it. So it was like this is what I thought of, kind of like just on the fly. But I was agreeing with Plant's idea. Is like I really think that there should be the next step should be something of a range character, preferably a magic user. I am a little partial.
Yeah,
to
for retail at least.
Yeah, for retail at least. But this is absolutely. This is something I would like to see, or at least something similar. With a new type of magic that introduces a new type of play. Like just. It's not something that has been done before. It's not like another nature spell. It's not another fire spell. It's taken a little bit of what they've already got in the game. So they already have the material and the actual damage type to put into play. Now it would just be a matter of them putting into play for players, and I think it could be like a realistic option for them to go forward with.
I like that.
Because it's got to be marketable too, right? They got to. They're going to be on the cover of their next expansion, right? Like one of the suggestions I've heard before is like a bard, and like a bard would be interesting, but how marketable is that?
So cool. I hear you there. Like I'm kind of thinking the same thing. For me, we have like you have your range, you have the hunter, the bow and stuff. But I was kind of thinking like, why not throw like something like a melee range kind of idea, where like a weapon thrower kind of idea. Something along the lines of that.
Similarly, I had an
It'd be kind of
interesting
cool
idea
because you have the
like
rogue who can throw daggers and stuff like that. What, like, it'd be kind of crazy.
Isn't that similar to Amazon from D2?
Well, I mean, yeah, you can go along the path,
lines.
yeah, sure, but just something like that would be neat.
So now we're talking about like a ranged melee, then, right?
Yeah, where you
Perhaps
can
range
specialize.
physical.
You know, you have your 3 different specializations, whatever, and one of them could be, you know, I'm thinking like a spear kind of guy, whatever it is, maybe like a lancer idea. That'd be kind of cool. Where you can specialize into, you know, range if you want to like throw some spears or whatever it is, or melee up in front of you, or
Yeah, you
That'd
can
be
jump.
interesting.
Do a lot
and
of
be able to jump and just get yourself out of combat for a minute and then come down and do some like crazy damage all of a sudden.
Sounds
That'd be
kind of
cool.
like a swashbuckler class. You know, they're kind of skilled in almost every weapon that they pick up. They have some kind of affinity for it. You know, they've used it or whatever, but they also use their agility and their guile to get in and out of sticky situations, and sometimes can really be a benefit for you know, the entire party just because of the utility and the quickness that they bring.
Pirate new class confirmed.
Pirate.
Well, I mean, maybe not pirate for PC reasons, but you know, swashbuckler has its nice little term. You know,
that's pretty cool.
I don't know. I'd buy the pirate expansion.
I mean, I would too, but
now I'm kind of curious. Like, we've been playing Classic for over a year. Like, what would be something simple that could have easily been slotted into Classic?
A rogue tank.
No, not necessarily a rogue tank, but like, I know you could add a shield.
My name's Brath.
Give a rogue a shield, please.
Yeah, but like, what
Brath?
if you could add one class to Classic that doesn't already exist? Like, not like a a monk or something. No, something that would be because to an extent,
dude, that's it.
To an extent, like, you know, like the Classic abilities are pretty straightforward. It's not overly complicated. It's very customizable, but the classes are pretty straightforward. Like, your damage rotations are kind of simple. You know, like, what could you filter in that would have been like a pure utility class or something that's just different?
Absolutely, I got you there, and that's where I think that the bard would have been best slot in this case.
Oh, here it is.
I'm gonna tell you why. Okay. So with the current setup the way it is, a lot of these things revolve around regenerating hit points, regenerating mana while in combat, and things like that. Well, that's where exactly where the bard could have came into play for this, right? So what they are is another range utility class that comes in and they offer a different variety of songs. Some of them we can call it, you know, we'll be simplistic with it. So Song of Vitality increases the party members' hit points by a certain number. Obviously, it has different ranks. You know, a higher level the bard gets, the more hit points that this gives off. Similar to kind of like the imp, right? Well, this will also provide HP 5 regeneration. Now, while casting this, the bard can do nothing else. You see what I'm saying? So this is a constantly channeled spell. He's a pure utility class. But let's say, and obviously hit points and everything are great and everybody could use that, but what mana users really want is their mana back, right? So they will also have a spell that can do this thing. We'll call it, Song of Refreshment, okay? So what it does is it replenishes the mana caster's mana pool while simultaneously increasing their max mana pool for as long as the song is played, stacking up to, say 10 times. So let's say it gives 50 mana per stack, so you get an extra 500 mana max while regaining 10 MP5 per 5 as long as the song's playing. That is a super useful utility class, you know, and that's just a few of the things I could think of. You could also throw in, a battle cry song. You know, they bang some drums around. The bard pulls out some drums, starts banging the drums around, and now it's like adding attack power or attack speed to, our melee groups. Or, vice versa. If they're in a mage group, then they're increasing their damage and their casting speed.
It's like, what do you
that
think
would be
about,
what
like,
I would think would work.
right? So what do you think about like class specialization for them?
Yeah, you got to imagine the talent trees, right?
I like what he's saying, right? So I mean, like, maybe one specialization for the barb is more dedicated to melee. Maybe the other one's more dedicated to
right. They'll usually
casters,
diverge.
and the other one's more dedicated to
sure.
Maybe like
for maybe actually
balance
doing their own
both
damage too, right?
Or doing
Sure,
their own damage as well. Like that's a
like
really
the swashbuckler type.
class.
Maybe we were just talking.
I like
about.
that. That's really neat. Cool.
Well, also you could sing debuffs onto stuff.
I was going to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There's plenty of things to expand on. I mean, I just think that because the bard is such a pivotal class in almost every game since the invention of D&D.
Classic
you know
RPG,
what I'm saying?
Right?
Like since chainmail days, like bard has been a part of the MMORPG or just an RPG experience to begin with. Like you always, I mean, they've made games out of it, just dedicated to just what bards do, songs, everything, all of the lore and everything is always told to you by what? A bard. So I think that bard should have been one of the either the original classes in the game or the very first expansion class, because it seems like with TBC that would have been almost the perfect time to introduce bards. Maybe even Wrath would have been the perfect time to introduce bards. I mean, obviously the Death Knight was coming in Wrath due to the Lich King, and that just goes hand in hand. But maybe the bard could have been introduced in TBC because I mean, yeah, we did get cross faction, shaman paladins now. And but at the same time, I feel like
a new class.
Yeah, I feel like bard could have fit in
there.
really well there, and it could have been the same concept that they used for Mist of Pandaria, where they introduced the pandas and they allowed them to go either Horde or Alliance. I think that bards are on both sides as well, so like it could have been either it would have been a playable class, for both. I mean, I could definitely picture myself riding up into, let's say, Undercity, and then right outside of the now war-torn gates or whatever, there's an undead bard sitting there with a straw hat and a weed out his mouth, playing on a banjo for tips. Like I could see this. So
that would be great.
It would be not only would it bring entertainment value, to an already fun game. I think it would really it would bring so much utility to a game that, really could have used some more utility.
Well, and there's a lot of
You're starting to sell me.
There's a lot of role play value that could have came from a bard. Like I already know that, servers like Deviant Delight do like a a weekly or a monthly like little newspaper thing where they talk about like different stories from different guilds and different players. Like I think there's a lot of RP value that could have come from the bard, and I kind of agree. It would almost have been a perfect time in Mist of Pandaria because you start off neutral, you don't really care what's going on, which faction, and then once you get out of the main area, then that's when you have to decide. And a bard is on both sides. A bard would be able to be on both sides, and it would have made a lot of sense to me. I think, introducing bard in Mist of Pandaria, I think that'd be really cool.
And
then you could also play like you're saying, like you could have a bard outside the gates of Orgrimmar or outside of Stormwind, doing whatever they're doing with their straw hat. But it would be really cool if they could be in the major city, playing an instrument. Like Lord of the Rings Online did a really cool thing with their bard class where you could actually get a different instrument. And I mean, I remember just messing around with it a little bit when it first came out, and I learned somewhat how to play, the Star Wars theme song. Like it was really cool.
Nice.
I don't know how
intrinsic. The Ocarina.
Yeah, I don't know how how in depth you can get with Final Fantasy XIV's bard, but I've heard people playing music as a bard in Final Fantasy XIV, and I think it's really cool.
Yeah. Well, see, they even go on to like later expansions and stuff where you can get, and one of the coolest things, I think it might be, is it TBC or is it Wrath? It's either TBC or Wrath. You can get the item. I believe it's TBC now that I'm thinking about it. Or I mean Wrath now I'm thinking about it. It's what's it called? Sylvanas' music box, I think, or something like that. So, and what it is whenever you use it, it like summons the music from Sylvanas singing the Sindor Eye song or whatever. It's like a beautiful fucking song. Like I love hearing it, and you can it's all like you can use it whenever you want to. And I think that's a cool little item that they put into the game. But I also think that, man, if they had a bard already in the game, imagine if, one of the things that you could do is, learn some of these songs from in the game and then play them.
That would be
cool too.
Got it down the final
some
boss.
of the sound. Like, obviously you're not going to be able to play the full 5.5 minute soundtrack of it. But let's say that you could play, 30 seconds of the high note. You know what I'm saying? Of the most recognizable portion of the song. If you could play 30 seconds of that, how much would that enhance your experience, even just playing this character that doesn't exist yet?
And it helped bring.
I think that would be great.
I think it would help bring back the community aspect too. I feel like a lot of the problems with retail WoW, not necessarily Shadowlands necessarily, but really more issues in my opinion ever since I started playing back in WoD. That's kind of when I quit the game after TBC and came back in WoD, and just like there's like not really any like community driven aspects outside of getting a small group of people to go run the raids. And so like having something circling back to the Bard real quick, having something like that I think would kind of bring back the community aspect in a different way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'm just thinking in my head, like, the different talent trees, like, and usually in a lot of games, like a bard and a dancer go hand in hand. So like you have like your singing tree, but then you have your dancing tree. And like in raid, like you have somebody who's like, a druid who's a bear dancer and he's dancing as a bear, but it's helping the raid. Like what?
Wow.
That's crazy. But that's really cool. But another kind of off the topic, we have a little more time here. So like I think a simple class that could be added into TBC that's like really popular in many other games is something like a summoner.
Yep.
Well, I mean, that's cool. Something I also wanted to kind of touch base on. I mean, we do have the warlock, but I mean, they're not really 100% dedicated to summoning. They are like kind of, but not really.
So it'd be kind of hard to make 3 talent trees for a summoner.
Maybe. I disagree.
So the way I was visioning it was like perhaps for like the wizard class that I was mentioning, you could have one of the specs be summoner.
Right. Okay.
Oh yeah, that'd be interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Just as a way to like broaden it, right? And then maybe have arcane and then summoning and then perhaps something else. Maybe like magic, something like that.
I mean, like for a single summoner, if a summoner had like 3 different, like if we're going down the TBC route, then he would have 3 different specs or whatever. Right. Like in the different summoner trees, you could go down like the healing summoning tree.
It's definitely doable.
Yeah. You have like your final talent point in the far end of the tree, which summons like a beast or whatever that heals the raid. Yep. And then down the dark tree, it summons a final beast that is big dick DPS. Like who knows?
And like, maybe you could like take over that summon and use him or something like that. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
Kind of like cool.
Over.
Yeah.
You have your like a pocket Pharaoh tank. Get in there.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah. And it could be all kinds of different stuff. Like to summon certain stuff, you're almost building stuff up like combo points to execute certain summons.
Final summon.
I like that. Yeah, no, I like that actually. That's actually really neat, bringing like a combo system for it.
So like let's say you summon like a big fire guard that pops out and he only lasts for like 30 seconds or 20 seconds or whatever. Yeah.
Oh God.
And now we're starting to talk more like we should be introducing classes to Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy,
like getting a little away from the WoW.
I mean, everything
Final Fantasy crossover.
Everything that Al's talking about right now literally reminds me of the Summoner Scholar from Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah. Well, I mean, where I was going with it. Dude.
Oh, yeah. We could sit here and talk about Final Fantasy Tactics and how many jobs they have and how we could probably maybe introduce them into
introduce some of them into
WoW, but
Well, I mean, I think for like one thing, I think Final Fantasy Tactics lines up to WoW Classic really well because the classes are straightforward enough.
Yes,
where like you could easily squeeze one in.
Absolutely.
And like chemist. Chemistry is taken over in WoW because of alchemy.
Oh, because alchemy. Yeah, good point.
So to an extent, but a chemist has all these different abilities. Like a chemist in Final Fantasy Tactics can throw potions at people to heal them. So it's like
so you can introduce that as a healer.
So when are we getting that Warcraft? When are we getting that Warcraft Final Fantasy crossover?
Yeah, right. Could happen, man. It's
I mean, there's been rumors for a long time now.
Man. Anything can happen,
man. Are you kidding me?
All I can say is like don't talk shit about Final Fantasy Tactics. I'll eat you alive.
No. Same, buddy. That game holds too many memories, man. I hear you, brother.
I played that game for so long. I love that game.
Oh, so yeah, Chris is in here too. He knows what's up.
Yeah. What is it, Plant?
An interesting place to look at for inspiration for new characters for WoW is World of Warcraft games. Like what classes they had in that, like Blade Master and like I don't know, Elementalists were in that and stuff like
Elementalists, ooh, Geomancer.
Kind of increases the likelihood of it actually being put into the game, right? Because there's precedent. Like there was monks in Warcraft 3 and stuff.
Yeah,
right.
Darth Geomancer just another
Geomancer, man. Come on,
it's
just
another.
In my head. I was like, holy shit, Geomancer, dude.
It's another Final Fantasy Tactics class,
right? Like, I'm sorry, but like, I just
Look, they had wizards too. Guess what? Wizards in Final Fantasy Tactics had lightning, fire, and frost.
So well, I guess we're all. I guess we're all quitting WoW to go to Final Fantasy 14. See you guys.
I wouldn't go as far as that, but I mean, I might go back and play some Tactics. Let's just say that.
Can I turn into a bear?
Oh boy.
If you play Diablo 2, you can.
Yeah, but we are at the top of the hour. I want to thank everybody for joining today. Another great session, episode 2 of Gankers Podcast. Thank you to all of our listeners. As always, you can look down below in the episode description to find our links to our Twitter, other social handles. So you can reach out to us. You can soon join the new Gankers Discord to ask us questions, interact with the hosts, and keep this going. Thank you so much. And it looks like, Darth, do you have a question? Are you raising your hand?
Yeah, can I go drink some more beer?
Oh yeah, of course. We have a little thing
out the whole time.
in the recording.
Not really.
We have you're allowed to raise your hand in the recording. It like little thing pops up. Yeah, guys, thank you so much, and we'll catch you on Friday for episode 3.
Thanks, guys.
Hell yeah,
thanks, guys. That was awesome.
For joining in, guys.
Thanks for everything.
See you later.